story which I suppose produces very emotional reactions. We've talked about the subject to a degree in the recent past with people like Roy Marriott from Animals in Need. We've also talked to a variety of other people after stories broke in the press about people like the Battersea Dogs Home destroying perfectly healthy animals simply because they were inundated with abandoned dogs. And you might well have seen the story about the woman putting a cat into a wheelie bin. There's a sickening story in the national press. It really made my blood boil this morning. A young woman drowning puppies by throwing them overarm, would you believe, into a fast-moving river. Now, that's the sort of story which will get an emotional response and an emotional reaction, and it's proper reporting, I suppose, to bring that sort of practice to the public eye. But even though there's been a sharp rise in the number of abandoned puppies, and even though there are now over 100,000 dogs within the animal welfare system, and even though that number is growing, there is somebody who believes that there are myths surrounding dog adoption, and dog adoption can be done in a responsible way to the betterment of not only us as human beings, but also the dogs as well. He's Ryan O'Meara, and he's on the line this afternoon. He's the co-founder of something called dogsblog.com. Ryan, explain how the website and how the dogsblog.com website works.
Well, Dogsblog really came about as an idea some years ago, in that I remember watching, as millions of other Britons did, the popular tea time programme Pet Rescue. And what always used to occur to me is at the end of the programme they do an appeal for a dog who's maybe been looking for a home for 4 or 5 years, and then on the next day they'd always update by saying, oh, don't call for Barney because 16,000 people have offered him a home. And I used to think to myself, 16,000 people wanted that dog, yet he's been sat in a kennel for 4 years. And so what that sort of set off in my mind, wouldn't it be great if there was a way to allow people to see pretty much thousands of dogs that are in the rescue system from the comfort of their own home? And so the idea for what Dogsblog eventually became was born. It just took a little while to get the technology together and make it work. So when we eventually launched it in 2007, it was very much, I do hope this works as well as it has in my mind. And 10,000 rehomed dogs later, I'm sort of confident to say it has worked very well. So the basic theory is this, that there is a dog for everybody somewhere in the rescue system, and the sad reason as to why that's the case is because there's just so many of them.
Isn't this really and truly something along the lines of a beauty pageant in that case? I mean, there are quite a lot of rehoming organisations. Battersea Dogs Home is one, Animals in Need is another here in Northamptonshare. Quite a lot of them have got websites up showing animals that are in need of homes. Isn't there a danger that it's only the pretty ones that are going to get rehomed, and dare I say it, animals that are perfectly healthy and perfectly deserving of rehoming, frankly, are going to get missed over? I mean, everybody's going to be a soft touch for a puppy with sad-looking eyes, and that doesn't necessarily guarantee that they're going to get a good home.
No, I mean, the thing about Dogsblog is it gives completely equal weight to all dogs, and that's actually something that very often doesn't happen in the rescue system itself. In terms of when people very often go to visit a dog, what happens is they maybe get a little overwhelmed with the barking, and they maybe sort of fall for a dog where they don't know anything about its background and that type of thing. What Dogsblog does is it allows you to see the backstory. In some cases there are videos, and I would urge anybody to sort of have a look on the site, and what they will see is that there are dogs of all different types. So you may go onto that website with the idea that, oh, I'd really like to get a black Labrador puppy, but before you know it, you're clicking through page after page after page, and the story of a particular dog who's maybe a 6-year-old dog who comes from an area even outside of where you live, because we've seen people that have come from Wales to adopt a dog in Derby. Now, my view is, without the internet, that wouldn't be happening, in that what people are doing is they're falling in love with dogs on the website based on personality and character and background. And so part of the reason why we've actually launched National Dog Adoption Month, of which that's the first day today, we've done that in association with a Northants company actually called Butcher's Pet Care. And part of the reason that we've done that is because what we want to do is really encourage people that adopting a dog isn't an act of charity. It's not something somebody should go into thinking, well, you know, I'm a nice person, I'm going to adopt a dog. It's just a really good way to get a dog. It really is a very, very good, sensible way to acquire a dog, and to have a dog where the background is actually extremely well known.
If you're going to operate a website like that, do you feel that you share any responsibility or any kind of imperative to make sure that the dog itself is going to go to a worthy home and somebody who is capable and, dare I say it, almost qualified to offer a dog a home? I mean, I did it. I had a rehomed dog for 17 years, and Charlie was absolutely my shadow. I absolutely adored her, and she me. And a very good friend of mine has just rehomed an animal from one of the rehoming shelters here in Northamptonshire, and I know that he's going to a fabulous home. But there are so many animals that come up for adoption, and actually it's the human beings that are causing the problems because, frankly, they're not capable or not resourced to do it. And we keep hearing these stories about people who say, well, I can't afford to keep a dog. Well, why were they allowed to have one in the first place then?
Absolutely, 100%. I couldn't agree with that sentiment more, in that what we're seeing on the website is actually there is a 50% rise in the number of young dogs that are going into rescue. So on the one hand, the rescues have had this perpetual problem of, people only ever want to adopt the young dogs out. But the problem at the moment is there is as many young dogs going in. Now, our experience and certainly our responsibility is we work with over 200 rescues nationally, which is probably why we are the biggest site, in that you will find the dog first rather than the rescue, in that you'll find the right dog, and then whatever rescue it happens to be at is kind of secondary. And so what we can do is we're very, very, very confident in the practices that the rescues put in place, in terms of they go through so many checks and balances in making sure that their dogs go out to the right home. Now, where the problem originates is in the irresponsible people who produce dogs, and maybe they've done it because they want some beer money, they want some easy cash, so they have a litter of dogs, and they don't care who they sell those dogs to. If you turn up with the right amount of money, they let you have the dog. The rescue system doesn't allow that. They actually do home checks.
I'm intrigued to hear you talk about producing dogs. Would you support, and do you, through the website, support only putting dogs that have been neutered or castrated up on the site? Because equally, what we're told from time after time is that it's the production of future generations of dogs, and cats too, actually, that causes the problem. Would you support that?
100%. I actually support something called a dog ownership suitability test, which I think we should have it as a law that says you shouldn't be allowed a dog unless you've actually proven yourself competent. Now, that's a little bit further down the line, but what we're happy that we are doing is maybe debunking some of the myths that people have about adopting a dog, because this is a classic. People assume that dogs only go into rescue because there's something wrong with them, and that's a myth that we're desperate to actually squash, because it's not true. It's just not true. And so what they will invariably do is think, well, I don't want to get a rescue dog, so they look in the local free ads paper, a litter that's been born, and before you know it, they've got a dog that they're maybe ill-equipped to look after, and invariably that's the dog that ends up going in to the rescue system in the first place.
It sounds as though then you would support a call for the reintroduction of a proper dog's licence, rather than just a piece of paper that you can buy at the post office.
Absolutely, a competency test. I genuinely believe, imagine if we didn't have a driving test. We would have carnage on the roads, yet that's what we've got with dogs. And unfortunately, we have got carnage, in that there are 100,000 dogs in the rescue system at any one time. And we like to call ourselves a nation of animal lovers. Well, I'm here to dispute that description, because I don't know how we can possibly call ourselves a nation of animal lovers when we have so many dogs that don't have a home.
Right, dogsblog.com is the website where you can find out more details about the National Dog Adoption Month. Ryan, you say today, the 1st of September, is the first day of the month for National Dog Adoption Month. What's going to be going on for the rest of the month?
Well, what we're encouraging people to do is to go both to dogsblog.com and to the National Dog Adoption Month website, and to actually just spread the message. That's the real thing that we want to do, is not beat people over the head with this idea that adopting a dog is an act of charity. It's about spreading the message that it's just a very good, sensible way to get a dog. And so what I would encourage anybody to do is, if they meet or speak to anybody that says, I'm thinking of getting a dog, is to say to them, have a look at dogsblog.com before you go anywhere, because you might be surprised at what you see on that website. And if it works in terms of what we had in the last National Dog Adoption Month, which was a 227% increase in the number of dogs that were adopted out, then we'll be more than pleased with that.
Great to have you on this afternoon. Great that you're also being supported by a local company like Butchers. Long may it continue. Ryan, thanks for coming on and talking to me a little bit more about